Hello, everybody, and welcome to this week's episode of Magically Cruising, the cruise podcast where we share our personal cruise tips and reviews to help you make the most out of your next cruise. My name's Kieran. I'm an independent travel agent specializing in all things cruise, Disney, and North America, and I'm joined by my fellow co-host, Sarah.
Hi, I'm Sarah, and I write over at Cruising for All and also Mini Travellers at Extraordinary Chaos.
Brilliant. And this week we have a very special guest who needs no introduction, but if you could please introduce yourself, Emma.
Hello, my name's Emma. I'm a cruise YouTuber and writer, and I'm all over the internet as EmmaCruises. And I'm excited to be here. Thanks for having me.
Oh, thank you for coming. It's great to have you on.
Thank you for coming on.
So what we decided to do, because obviously, Emma, you have sailed many, many different cruise lines, and you've obviously done cruises right at the very value end of the spectrum, all the way up to the premium end of the spectrum and kind of into luxury category as well. So if anyone's qualified to have an opinion on this, we think is you. So what we thought today, we would have a chat about just kind of, I guess, the pros and cons, the perks and the differences between value cruising versus premium cruising.
So I think, right, first of all, my first question then, because you've cruised forever, haven't you? So what age did you start cruising and who was it with?
So I started at age 11 and I cruised with Norwegian throughout my whole teenage years. That's pretty much the only cruises I did. I did one with MSC, but mostly Norwegian. So I thought cruising was, I didn't know dress codes were a thing because Norwegian are very, very casual. They're water slides, they're theatre shows. And that's what I thought cruising was because I didn't know any better. And then I took a cruise with Cunard. And that was a real sort of shock to me, going from Norwegian to Cunard. I didn't do any research. I didn't think about it. And I kind of sat there on that cruise and was like, oh, this is what people think that it's like. And it is like that if you want it, but you don't have to do a kind of formal traditional cruise, which is what Cunard is. And now I've done, as you say, I've done from sort of Viking on the high end down to, I love an MSC cruise, a Costa cruise. I was on cheap P&O cruises and most of the ones in between now, which is amazing.
So how do you choose your cruise? When you say, right, okay, I'm going to go on a cruise, which we know now is most months with you. But when you do choose your cruise, what is your thought process? Where do you start?
It tends to depend on who I'm going with, because if I'm cruising with my other half, we're very casual cruisers. We don't want to do dress codes particularly. We like the big American cruise lines. But if I'm cruising with, my family, they're quite happy to do a more sort of relaxed, like a princess cruise or a celebrity cruise, something like that. So it does vary depending on who I'm going with. I guess because I cruise so much, I'm happy to do any sort of cruise. I will do, I was cruise out of season and was in the cheapest inside cabins most of the time. But I do sort of, because I'm happy to do anything, I change it based on who I'm going with. If I was going, with friends who are my age, we've done like 90s themed cruises and stuff like that. And I don't think my family would like that. But that's what's good about cruising, I think. You can do everything on that scale.
I think that's the unique thing about it, isn't it? This is why cruise is so much fun, regardless of the type, and you've touched on it beautifully there, of regardless of the type of cruiser you are, whether you want something more formal, something a bit more timeless and traditional, or whether you want something fun and casual and a bit more party heavy, there's something for everyone, which I think is also great that there's prices for everyone as well. Now, obviously, prices at the moment are higher than ever, and I think that unfortunately is going to keep happening. So we have to kind of talk about that elephant. Unfortunately, that cruise is just going to get more expensive, I think, in the next couple of years. But there are still options out there for customers if they want to get kind of value cruising and do, good value cruising. And even at the value end of the spectrum, you're still going to have a fantastic cruise. I wholeheartedly believe in that. Yeah. Just down to, as you say, the type of person you are, you may find more of what you enjoy on either a premium line or on a value line, the type of sailor you are, I guess.
Yeah, I definitely find some people think, oh, if I spend twice the price, I'm going to enjoy this cruise twice as much. And it doesn't suit everybody. I've had friends who they absolutely love a Costa cruise, which is the Italian cruise line. Very colourful. It's quite chaotic. It's loud. Everyone's speaking different languages, which is great fun. Not for everybody. And they think, right, if I pay double and I do a celebrity cruise, I'm going to enjoy it twice as much. And it just doesn't suit. It doesn't suit them, So I guess some people are just better suited to different cruises. I quite like the ones that are a bit more chaotic. Sometimes that suits me quite well, which tends to be on the cheaper end, like an MSC cruise or, even P&O sometimes can be a bit,
It's interesting that because we've always done the chaotic end because of having the boys. The boys have grown up cruising. And I love that. But they've got to the stage, they announced a couple of months ago, we don't want to cruise anymore. We're done. We're not cruising. That isn't an option because I pay for travel. So point taken, overruled. But I think it's because they I think they're now going to veer towards Virgin, Princess and Celebrity because I think they now have no tolerance of kids.
Yeah, exactly. So,
which is crazy.
But going back to the Costa cruise, I've never seen so many babies and children on a cruise. And for some people, that's the absolute worst nightmare. And I don't know what Italian children eat, but they do not sleep. They are constantly just fueled. It's like
the coffee.
Yeah, it must be something. Because like I went to, they have like a white party they had this big dome. I went on Smeralda and I went up there about 1 a.m. and people are there with their babies on the shoulders, like little kids who are like 1 year old. They're still partying in the middle of the night. And then also they're up in the morning. So they must have a sleep in the afternoon. But for some people, that's their absolute worst nightmare. But then if you're, a family, quite often kids are free on Costa. So, I see why people do it. It's good fun.
So we chatted about this on the Celebrity episode, didn't we? We were saying, for families, if you want a quieter cruise, then something like Celebrity that doesn't have the slides, the water parks and stuff would be better. It's not a cookie cutter thing, I think, is it? It's not, you're going to pick the one thing and it's going to be right for everyone.
Yeah. I mean, I did my first Disney cruise and I think for me as a child, I wouldn't have liked it. I would have found it really, really overwhelming. And you could see some of the children absolutely live and breathe Disney, but some of the kids were sort of like a bit, just a bit overwhelmed with sort of trying to eat. And also there's a show going on at the same time. And I think I would have been that child. Yeah. But Norwegian, I really like Norwegian. But when I think back at the things that I loved about cruising when I was sort of a teenager, it was the fact that I thought I was so cool. I had friends who were like from America and Canada and stuff. And we would just sort of hang out in the hot tubs. And that's what I liked. And I had sort of freedom from my parents because, they could go to the main dining room. I could get pizza in the buffet. And, when you're 13, that's really, really cool.
But isn't it crazy that your kids grow up and we're still booking Norwegian and Royal Caribbean, but without?
Yeah. So
we're
true.
Like, we'll take you on a Celebrity, but we're going on these and having some fun.
Yeah,
there's nothing I like more than seeing families having a good time. I think it's wonderful.
See, I've gone firmly in bed with Virgin and the fact that there's no kids on board. It suits me down to a T. Disney's my other favourite cruise line, so it feels like I've gone polar opposites. But they're both premium cruise lines, and I've kind of realised as well that I really like that slightly more premium experience where, the attention to detail is there and you're getting those extra little perks and things like that. I don't know. I think I've become comfortable anyway in admitting, I am a bit of a snob. I like a bit of a premium cruise.
Why
I don't
not?
think I'm luxe yet. I don't think I fit into luxe. I like that casual luxury. Yeah, definitely. But it's weird how come my two favourite cruise lines are adult only, very family friendly. Nothing in between.
Right, so cabins then. I know the answer to this already, but so obviously you have one of the cabin type do you book, but is that based on cost or is that how you book your cruises?
It's kind of a bit different from me now because traditionally I've always just booked the cheapest guaranteed inside cabin, and I still do that a lot. And I've ended up with some really good cabins that I might not have considered by doing that.
Cool.
I don't have any reason to I don't mind walking from one end of the ship to the other. I don't mind walking up the stairs. I don't need to be near, I don't need to be near the kids' clubs or anything. It doesn't matter. So I quite like the gamble of it. And sometimes you get a better one, sometimes not. But now sort of having a YouTube channel, if there is some type of controversial cabin, I'm going to book that one because I want to test it out.
Yeah.
So I had on Iona, I had one of the conservatory balcony cabins that goes straight onto the promenade deck just because it was so interesting. It's such a polarizing cabin. People love it, or it's the worst cabin they've ever stayed in. So if I'm sort of taking a cruise just with my friends, I'm introducing them to cruising and we're doing like a Northern Europe MSC cruise, there's no way I'm going to book anything other than inside cabin because it's very industrial, a lot of those ports. We're going to be out spending time together anyway, but if I'm doing somewhere like Norway, then I think Norway's worth a balcony cabin.
Yeah, we didn't last time and I regretted that. Really regretted it.
Yeah, I paid for the upgrade and I was like, it's worth it, which is rare for me to say. So when I say that, I think it means something.
I think it does, like you say in there, the itinerary does matter as well, whether it's worth paying a little bit more. Like I went to Alaska last year and I think it's for us anyway, where we live in the world in the UK, I think it's a bit of a one and done situation. Not one and done in a negative way. I mean, like it's a bucket list, I guess is what I'm trying to say, holiday. And I think sometimes it's worth paying that a little bit more to be on a slightly more prestigious cruise line where they're going to have access to the better port times and things like that. And also, like, definitely a balcony cabin in somewhere like Alaska, Norwegian fjords is a bit of a no-brainer. But yeah, if I was doing like, you know, an English sailing, sorry, an ex-UK sailing, and I was going to like, you know, Zeebrugge and South, whatever for the day, or for 3 night sailing, I probably wouldn't justify paying for a balcony.
It's mostly just shipping containers
Yeah.
if you go to places like
and
that.
the English Channel, like, isn't it?
Yeah, and I always do, you know, I cruise in, I'll do like a November cruise to the north. I have no peak times that I like to go, so it's probably going to be dark by the time we sail away anyway.
Right.
Yes.
I won't see much in the morning, and it's just, for me, that's just not worth it. I have a little lamp that I bring in the inside cabins that pretends to be the sunrise, and that's quite nice, but you know, the money you can save, sometimes it's double the price for a balcony. I just look at it and think, oh my goodness.
No, it's a big saving, isn't it? Definitely. And now that we're booking 2 cabins, sometimes you think, well, do you know what? That's a massive saving on 2 cabins.
Yeah. I mean, when I sort of was a teenager and me and my brother would have a cabin, and my parents, we would always be inside and they'd be in the balcony, always. Because we would hang out in one room.
Yeah.
Yeah, we would hang out in one room. Where does it matter? And we would always book guaranteed cabins. So you would have no guarantee that they're going to be anywhere close to each other. Sometimes we would end up with ones on the same deck. It was great. But sometimes we would end up with like 8 decks apart the other side of the ship. And it takes like, I'm going to be there in 12 minutes. It takes a long time to get there. But I don't mind that.
I had a really bad experience booking guaranteed on Disney on our transatlantic sailing, and it's put me off ever doing it again. We were literally like in a really bad location right next to the access corridor for all the crews. So literally from like 6 a.m, there was banging all the time. And I was just like, oh no, this is all I actually moved. Luckily we knew somebody who got us moved, but it put me off ever risking guaranteed again. And it's the thing in this sometimes.
Would have avoided that one. Would you have known that was near the crew? It was like an obviously bad one.
Oh yeah, no, definitely. Yeah.
Sometimes I'm like, oh, I've ended up with the one that is the absolute dream on paper, but my neighbors are really loud, and you know, you can just end up with bad stuff even if you plan it. So
absolutely. Yeah. Well, my last Virgin sailing from Miami, I had somebody who decided to play the TV incredibly loud the entire voyage. And I was just like, there's not that much good TV to watch on board. Like, what are you doing? There's beautiful ports to visit and things to see. Why is your TV always on so loud?
I'd be like, you're trying to cover up something. Yeah. That's what my thought would be.
So have you ever had one where you've absolutely been potluck? It's been amazing.
So, I mean, I've ended up with ones that are like roughly in the middle and they're decent enough, but how inside cabins are the same square, really. Like, I've never ended up with like an extra. Sometimes you can get ones that are like a square shape that are big or something. I've never had anything like that. It's always been what I expected. You know, I've had cabins that are right under the pool deck, right above nightclubs. I can sleep through anything, so I think that's one reason that I don't mind at all. I find it kind of nice. You know, sometimes you will hear I did a carnival cruise and I was right above this nightclub, and you can't work out what the song is, but you could hear the bass line constantly. And I just sort of went into my dreams, but it was fine. Didn't stop me sleeping. Yeah. But some people, that would really drive them crazy, and I get that.
We have this conversation, don't we, as well, quite a lot about, for some people, and like Facebook groups are the worst for this as well, of like fueling that anxiety about, that's a really bad cabin, you never want to book this ever. And I get so many requests from customers after they've booked to move, because they're, in the Facebook group, they've said this cabin's the worst cabin ever. And I'm like, it's not that bad, actually. Yeah. But yes, I can see where you're coming from. So yeah, as you say, sometimes I think people's anxiety, and I get it, they spend a lot of money to go away on holiday. I think we're all very fortunate that we get to travel quite a lot because of our job. But for some people, I get it, it's like they're one and done. They maybe get to cruise once or twice a year if they're lucky, and they want it to be perfect. And it's very difficult to manage that expectation with some people, because I don't think there is a perfect cabin on any cruise ship. There's always going to be a pro and con to pretty much everywhere. Yeah. So yeah, it's tough, isn't it, to kind of reconcile that with some people.
No, I just mean, you know, you can be right at the end of a ship, which people would say is bad, but then people aren't walking by you. Whereas if you're in the middle, you have people. So there's, you know, everyone has a good thing and a bad thing.
We always book the end. I never go to the middle, because then people will walk past. But those Iona cabins, when my boys were younger, that's what I would have booked, because Joe was a climber, so I could have a balcony, but I know he's not going to fall off the ship. He might dislocate his shoulder. He's not going to die, is he?
Yeah, fall onto the boat.
Yeah, so for me, that's really
exactly. There you go. Yeah, no, it was a decent cabin. I mean, it was a bit weird, you know, hearing other people's conversations, but no one was really out there, because we were doing a February sailing, Northern Europe. No one's on the promenade deck. And I shared that cabin with my parents. So there's 3 of us in a room. So it was quite nice to have that extra, outside space. I could sit there with my laptop or whatever, and then I'm not bothering anyone. So it was quite good. Yeah, I didn't dislike it.
They would probably be perfect for that nosy neighbor. You know, the one that stands outside all the time and knows everyone's business.
Yeah, people would stop and be like, "Oh, I've heard about these cabins." Like, and I'm like looking, which was nice. Yeah. Or people would stop me. They're like, "Are you Emma?" I was like, "Yes." It's a bit weird. Like I'm standing up on my balcony looking down on the promenade.
This is the meet and greet. That's what people from your conservatory
outside
balcony.
This room. That was a bit bizarre, but everyone was super nice. Yeah, you're just always aware people were there, but that was fine.
So, favourite port? What's your favourite port?
Oh, tricky. I think Norway is probably my favourite place to go altogether. It's some of the most picturesque ports, I think. I think Garanga is probably the most beautiful port in the world. It looks crazy. It looks like it's from a film. But sometimes, like, for more practical reasons, like, I cruise a lot out of Barcelona, and I really love it there because it's so easy to get to the port. There's so many places to stay. I've been so many times, but there's always more things to do there. So that's nice. So, yeah, I probably have different favourite ports for different things, I think.
Yeah.
But, yeah, there's very few where I thought, oh, I don't actually want to go back to this. A couple, but
yeah. We went to Olbia on Virgin, and I did get a little bit cross halfway through the day. I'm just like, why are we even here? There's nothing here to do. Like when one of the landmarks is a wall, and it's literally like behind someone's house. That is the landmark, like this ancient wall. And I was just like, this is pointless. I mean,
this is the highlight.
They're not back this year, so I think they took the feedback quite aggressively from me personally, just moaning the entire day.
Probably everyone did.
What would you say then is the most, I guess, if you were to kind of pinpoint one line as the most value you've experienced then, and like feels the most value as well, whereby you feel like, yep, definitely I'm getting what I'm paying for. Which line would you say? And like, we're not looking to badmouth anyone. I think it's just a genuine, honest conversation of you get what you pay for. Which would you say is the most value and feels it?
I think P&O are coming up in there based on, because I booked a 2-week cruise for my family and my nieces. And my nieces are £150 for 13 nights. And that's like, they're going to eat that at breakfast, right?
Yeah.
So, and the adults were, we actually got, I'm in an ocean view. But for 13 nights, it was like £900, which you can't book like a Premier Inn for that price, which is crazy. And I feel like, MSC are cheaper. And I've done some really cheap MSC cruises. I've done sort of £40 a night MSC cruises and Costa cruises. But on those, it feels like you sort of get less than on P&O. I guess because P&O, it includes the gratuities. The food is very consistent, I think, on P&O. You know what you're going to get. I know that my nieces who, they're going to be fine with the food. There's nothing that is going to be odd to them. And I really like the entertainment on P&O. I have a lot of trouble with P&O because the majority of my audience are from the US. And I work with travel agents in the US and the UK. And it's so hard for them to book a P&O cruise.
Yes.
Almost impossible.
I'm having the same conversation. Yeah.
Just because of the travel insurance is what we found. So I wanted to do more P&O cruises and share them more, but it doesn't really make that sense for me to take a cruise that 80% of my audience can't book.
Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah. And that's the thing. It is very British and it tends to kind of ignore the rest of the world type of thing.
Yeah.
I've just learned this recently after a conversation I'm having with somebody else about how difficult it is for international guests to book on a P&O cruise.
Yeah.
It's borderline difficult.
Yeah, it's frustrating. It is hard. I mean, the agency I work with in the UK, they won't do it because they can't get the high enough travel insurance for Americans.
Yes.
It's like,
yeah.
But I think they would like it. You can do it if you just sort of book it direct and ignore that pact. But I wouldn't want to risk not having the requirements for the cruise line. They don't normally check, but personally, I wouldn't want to do that. But I think they would like it. I don't understand why they don't want more customers, but fair enough. I guess they have enough of us Brits.
Could customers not use their Amex? Like if you've got an Amex card, because our Amex, the coverage has got the repatriation. It's enough for cruising. So is that not a way around it for you?
I feel like the limits on US travel insurance are way lower than ours for the medical side of it.
Right,
that's the problem, the medical side. And they pay a lot more for travel insurance than us. I didn't realize how much. I would, if anyone tells me they go on a cruise without travel insurance, it makes me feel quite sick. Some people almost boast about it.
Yeah, definitely, yeah.
but I would never risk it, never. And I'm in profit from my travel insurance policy because I have missed port cover, and I miss so many ports that I'm in profit. I think last year I made like £50, so
That's brilliant.
Yeah. Well, I paid more for the one that gave me more port cover because I thought statistically I cruise quite a lot. I'm gonna miss some ports this year. If I miss like one or two, then I'm getting some money. So
Touch
my
wood.
current one,
I don't think I've missed a port, touch wood.
Really?
Watch now, my next sailing, I'll miss all of them. There'll be some massive storm. They'll be like, you go into one port.
I would say like a quarter of mine I miss a port, I think.
Really?
Yeah, maybe it's because I'm always doing these random ones in January or like
probably.
I do these odd sort of repositioning cruises, like any random thing I'll do, but yeah, all the time. Some cruises, multiple ports, and yeah, I think mine was £150 I get back for a missed port. And my
Really?
insurance was about that. So yeah, it's a weird way to gamble, but
I was going to say it's purely at luck and random. You never know.
Yeah,
like,
so random.
I think I'm up to 15 cruises, never missed a port entirely, but it could all change.
Right.
And it seems to be happening more and more lately as well as kind of rules and regulations. And I mean about the size of ships that can get into port.
yeah,
It's getting harder for certain ships to get into port as well. So that's changing quite a lot. Weather obviously is more unpredictable than ever before as well. So I feel like it's increasing definitely more recently, the port issues.
I think the key though, because it's only ever happened to me once, and that was P&O, and they gave us, I think they gave us $100 or £100 it would have been, wouldn't it, P&O, on board credit each. So we just didn't bother. I didn't bother to claim it. But what struck me was how busy concierge were, with everybody complaining. You think, well, it is what it is. I don't get stressed.
Yeah, I don't know what people expect. Like I was on the Ambassador cruise that got cancelled after 4 hours because of a safety problem. And some people were like, I would be so annoyed. I want them to still go anyway. What? You would be so complaining if it went when the lifeboats were not functional, right?
Yeah.
I don't know what people want.
Absolute outrage. I'm like, how dare they sail without having safe lifeboats? And it's
how
like,
dare they?
You can't win.
Yeah, I don't know. When there's thousands of people on a cruise ship, no matter what decision you make, there's going to be some that don't like it. So, yeah, I think they did the right thing. Yeah.
But that actually, coming on to that, is your Facebook group. So your Facebook group is called...
Oh, it's EmmaCruises and Captain Hudson's Adventures now, because I felt the need to add Captain Hudson into it, because 90% of the pictures on there are of Captain Hudson at the moment. Captain Hudson is my mascot, I guess, for my channel, and I created some soft toy versions of him to raise money for a charity called Mercy Ships, and I did that. The original order I needed was 300, because it's like a bulk thing. You have to make 300, and I was so nervous about 300. And the first round, we did 1,372. And this time, we're doing version 2, and we got 1,577 last time I checked. So there's lots of Captain Hudsons out there on cruise ships. And the cool thing is people are starting to sort of make friends with each other because they see Captain Hudson, the little toy. Or they see like, oh, you've got a T-shirt on that says, I'm with Hudson. I know Hudson, and he's become this like thing people have in common, which is so nice. My cat Hudson is here right now. I'll try and... For anyone watching the video, he'll probably come on the screen in a minute. But yeah, it's blown me away. It's crazy, but it's so cool. So yeah, I thought I needed to put...
I commented, didn't I, saying I don't like cats, but really well done, because I think it's amazing. And this...
There he is.
There he is.
No, I don't like them. I mean, I don't want to touch them. They bite.
Oh.
But
oh yeah, they do a bit.
We're dog people though. Me and Sarah both have French bulldogs, and Sarah's got a pug as well. We're like totally dog people.
I'm terrified of them. I'm more scared of a cat than I am a Rottweiler.
Really?
Because I've been attacked.
Look, there's my Captain Hudson's.
Hey
you
guys,
see them?
talking to the toys.
Is that the two different versions as well?
Yeah.
Yeah. So when I made a comment about this, it was a whole stream of people sticking up for a toy, telling me off. Anyway, then Emma you came in and stuck up for me, and then everybody was lovely, and they were saying, "Oh, why?" And I got attacked, and then but I thought, "Oh my
ridiculous.
God, it was," and everybody was super lovely. But
it's not real. Like, sometimes I do wonder. Yeah, he's not really a captain. He's just, but he came out really well. I'm really happy with the company I got to make them, because it was a gamble.
You should be so proud of yourself. We don't.
Thanks. I had one sample, of course, but I thought if I get this sample, they made this one's great, and then I don't know if 1,000 people order it and then they just get sent this like terrible orange, like I don't know. But luckily they all came out like this. We had we had a couple that had some quirks. One of them had his little thing upside down, his little neckerchief. One was missing a hat, but we just said he'd not qualified yet. That one. But people don't mind.
Training.
Yeah, people don't mind. I think because it's for charity, people are like, well, I just have the quirks one now. That one's worth something. So no, it's taken me by surprise.
I think it's so great. You've built that community as well. I think that goes to show just a testament to the quality of what you put out there anyway. So just kudos for that. But also I think the cruise community in general as well, the fact that people are connecting over something like that just goes to show how incredible the cruise community is. I generally love it when people get together over a love of cruising. And I think that's just really nice that they find another thing in common. It's like the cruise ducks thing, which I can't fathom. It boggles my brain.
I know. Everyone says I need to make Hudson versions, but I wouldn't know how to make one that was cheap enough, but also not terrible.
Yeah.
I don't know. But no, it's so nice. Everyone's taking these Hudsons everywhere and they're sharing pictures of like, oh, he's in Alaska. Now he's in California. People were taking pictures like with the captain and the crew. So the crew must be wondering what on earth is going on. Oh, it's that cat again. Yeah. But no, it's really sweet. And that's what I like about like having a Facebook group. That's what I want it to be, is nice people sharing their things. We've always been very strict on that Facebook group. I think I've had it 7 years now. And the first sign of someone being like just adding something that doesn't help and it's just mean, you're gone, because it only takes a few in a Facebook group to really sort of
and it is annoyingly contagious because we share the cruising with kids one, didn't we? So Sarah's added me as an admin to the cruising with kids one, and then I've got a Virgin Voyages couple for different ships, and it just takes that one person just to derail the whole atmosphere inside of a
what
group.
they
So you
do, though?
need to be kind of a bit unfair.
Kieran and Donna as like Mr. Nice Guy. So what they do is if anybody's a bit mean, they refer it to me and I have to be the one that chucks them out. It's always me. But that was my point. I was getting to
I'm a deputy. I'm a deputy in the group,
You
so I have
deal
to
with
check
that.
with you before I kick people out.
No,
I say, are you okay for me too?
But that was my point. It was like, because we know with our Facebook group, it's hard. So there's ours, which is only small compared to yours. We're only about 4,000. Then there's cafes and cruise addicts, cruise addicted. And yours.
I mean,
and I think they're the three really friendly groups. And I think that's really nice that you've fostered a community that's helpful, friendly, and you don't have that fear of commenting. And I think that's really, really important.
That's the thing. I see sometimes people ask perfectly fair questions and just really get sort of, which you don't want that. You know? If someone doesn't, if you don't have anything to add, then don't comment on it unless you're going to say something nice. So that's what I think. But
I will say as well, like, it's my day job to sell cruises and I don't know everything. It's such a big world. There are so many ships and every single ship has different personality, characters and issues. I think it just because someone knows one ship incredibly well or one brand incredibly well doesn't mean everybody does.
No.
So I get really annoyed when people are kind of like the gatekeepers to information on particular brand products and ships. And I've never fathomed that, just because I put my hand up straight over, like, I don't remember everything. I don't recall everything. There are things I know incredibly well. Disney and Virgin test me and I will probably pass. Yeah. But I will not remember everything about every single cruise line or ship out there.
No, if someone asks me, what are the kids clubs like? Well, I have no idea, but I know people who know.
Yeah.
You know, so.
Yeah.
But we have it with the blogs as well, and you will, because with comments, that sometimes people just 90% unlovely, lovely comments, and then you just get that one that's like, and you think,
and that's the one that sticks in your mind the whole day, isn't it? That you're walking around.
Of course. I've had that. It surprises me because I sort of share some things from my YouTube channel on Facebook, and on YouTube, everyone is used to getting mean comments, right? But you hide people, you block the words. And I thought on Facebook, because it was people's real names and their friends would see it, that they would be less mean. No, they're so much meaner.
Worse.
Sometimes they'll even share my stuff and be like, look at this terrible woman doing this thing. And I'm like, why did you share it? I mean, thank you for the views. But yeah, I don't understand that logic. If I didn't like something, I would just stop wasting my time with it and leave.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it's interesting.
Sometimes I do tell people off though, and sometimes I just go back and say, have you had a bad day? Because you think, They don't.
Yeah, are you okay?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You need a
You're
cookie.
okay. Yeah.
You need a
Do you want
hug.
me to post you a cookie?
Yeah, sometimes.
Me, I'll be warm.
Yeah, I try and sort of, I try and read a comment and think, oh, this is just, I try and imagine, oh, maybe it's just a sweet old man who genuinely doesn't know this. Like, they're not trying to be mean. Try and think the best. But yeah, some people would just share it and they're like, look at this, ugly, whatever. I'm like, can't interpret that any other way.
You do. You develop a bit of a thick skin, don't you? When you kind of, me as a travel agent, having to, like, I get so much abuse over sustainability on cruise lines and the damage the environment's doing, and you're terrible for promoting cruise, and you should be ashamed of yourself. I'm like, no, I'm not. I have a lovely life. You enjoy yourself. It's weird. It's weird, this culture of people where, like you say, they have no interest in engaging in a positive light, so they just go out of their way to be negative. I can't fathom it.
Just don't waste your energy. There's so many other things, you know. But yeah, I never really realized how demanding and rude some people can be to travel agents until I started working with travel agents. And I get people who will sort of have a conversation with one of my travel agents and then forward it to me and be like, look what they said. And I've never agreed with the person who's trying to dob them in, always with my agents. And I say to them, if you want to put them on a do not list, back you up completely, because there's enough, lovely people. You don't want to waste your time when someone's, people send me the complaints they've sent to cruise lines as well, which is quite interesting sometimes. But they'll be like, can you believe this is Norwegian's reply? I'm like, yes, that would be my reply.
It's so hard, isn't it? It's so hard to be sympathetic. You're like, yep.
I had one the other day, and it was this really long email trail that I read through, and the complaint was that the library was too cold on one of the ships. And Norwegian came back and they were like, we have no record of anybody on that cruise reporting that the library is too cold. So if you didn't tell anyone, then, I think things go wrong on cruises all the time. I've had so many problems that I've had to have fixed. But if you, let someone know about it, if you go to reception and sort it out, 99% of the time it'll be fine. It's just when people sort of have a problem and then, did you do anything? No? Well, it's not going to get fixed then, is it? So...
This is my top tip to people who have issues on cruise ships. Don't tell Facebook or Twitter. Tell the concierge desk or the guest services team and give them the chance to fix it. Because I promise you, Jill sat at home at Facebook has no control over whether or not your thermostat's going to get fixed in your cabin.
No. And also, the way that sort of social media works is someone puts out a post saying, oh, this cruise line's terrible. They didn't give us any onboard credit for this thing or something. And that gets 100,000 views, and then the update is, oh, they did. They just gave it to us on the last day, and 12 people see that, because that's how it works on Facebook and stuff, isn't it? It's the engagement.
Absolutely,
so wait, try and sort it out on your cruise. Sometimes things don't get sorted out, and then fair enough, you can say this is, a policy that makes no sense. I had that with P&O. They had a children's soda package for a while that any adults could buy, and I bought. So I'd say that this makes no sense. Could you please sort it out? And now they have. So it's good. But
and that's the thing I will say as well. Cruise lines are incredibly responsive to feedback as well. So and they may not be able to solve it there and then for you on that particular voyage. But and I can only talk about my relationship with Virgin and the amount of feedback that I give them. And some of it's aggressive. I give them like, these are issues, these are problems. But they are very, very responsive because they want to make the cruise and the product better. They may not have the resources there and then, but they will definitely take on board the most feedback I've ever given cruise lines politely has usually been implemented, or they kind of go, yeah, no, you're right, we're working on it, definitely.
I'm imagining like a Batman phone at Virgin with Kieran on it. Like if we go, oh God, he's here again. Can you give us your bargain tips of like how would a customer, cruiser, sailor, whatever we call them, because we have all different names on here. How would they go about getting a good deal on a cruise?
Okay, so I think the key is being as flexible as possible and not caring really where you go. If you sort of think, oh, I have November free, I'd like to go on a cruise, you can find a very, very cheap cruise if you're open to going anywhere in Europe or anywhere in the US. The tricky thing is when you say, I've got this particular week of work, I need to sail from this port in Alaska, well, then the price is what it is. So the more flexible you can be on, not just time, but also the cruise line. I think a lot of people are very loyal to cruise lines and they won't even look at anything else. And if you're someone who you really like an MSC cruise, you'll probably like a Costa cruise. They're not all that different. If you're someone who, you like a Royal Caribbean cruise, you'll probably like a Norwegian cruise as well. And some people will not even look just because they know what they like. And you could find that one is half the price of the other just because, one's sold better. Maybe it's a different ship. I think just being flexible in that way is the best way to do it. If you can cruise, out of season, obviously avoiding the school holidays helps an awful lot. I know not everyone can. But I do quite a lot of repositioning cruises as well, the ones that start and end in different places. They tend to be cheaper because less people want to do them. But if I'm flying to, Lisbon, it doesn't matter to me if I fly back from a different airport because I'm flying both ways anyway. So I do that quite a lot.
That's a great tip as well. Repositionings are a really great value, and Norwegian do a lot of really random, like open jaw sailings as well, and MSC do as well. So they're really good value just because, like you say, it does deter a lot of people if it's not in and out of the same airport, but you can get some great prices, especially like winter sailings with Norwegian this year and next year. They got some great deals.
Yeah, I did a Norwegian Sun last year. So cheap.
What are the older Norwegian ships like compared? Because we only have ever sailed on the new ship.
It's very different. I think there's a very distinct sort of split in the cruise ships, like there is with a lot of cruise lines. There's like, at this point it changed, and that would be sort of breakaway and getaway for Norwegian, and the ones before that are very different. I really like them. They're more sort of, in the early 2000s, everything was sort of colourful and that warm wood. It's more like that, and they don't have, the go-karts and stuff like that. But the entertainment is the same. The food is the same. It's the same sort of chilled out experience. It just doesn't have all of the, bells and whistles. But sometimes I think that's really nice. Sometimes it depends where you're going. If you want to be doing more in port, you just want like a nice place where you can get a drink and you can sit by the pool and you can eat. And you can do that on the older ships. And you don't have to walk so far because it's so small. But I had a tiny little inside cabin on Sun right by the atrium. But there's so much outside space on that ship. I think a lot of the newer ships, they're trying to cram things into every corner, aren't they? They're like, we can put something to make money in here, like an ice cream shop or something. And the older ones, it's like, there's just like decks and decks of space.
The pool deck is the attraction.
This is what it is, which sometimes is really nice. I think there's, from going from Sun to Prima, both fantastic, but very, very different. There's not, apart from the food and the entertainment, you wouldn't look at them and be like, oh, these are the same. Not really.
That's probably a good conversation there in itself about the difference between value and premium, then I guess, because Prima obviously is the start of Norwegian launching this new mini class within their fleet as well, of kind of the Prima class, and that is obviously aimed very much at the premium, not top end, but it's at the premium end of the mainstream cruise spectrum as well. So how would you find that translates then, of going from something that is maybe a more budget friendly version of a Norwegian cruise right the way up to their now new luxury premium cruise?
Yeah, I feel like mostly it's more choice. When I was on Sun, there's maybe 3 specialty restaurants, and Prima has, I don't even know how many, 10 maybe, a lot of specialty restaurants. So it kind of comes down to, if you're on an older, smaller ship, there might be 2 venues in the evening that have live music, whereas if you're on Prima, there's 8, and you can pick what you want. I think that's really the main difference. You can go go-karting, you can go on drop signs, you can do all these things on Prima, and you just don't have those options on the cheaper and smaller ships. But I don't always want those options. Sometimes it's fun, but sometimes if you're not going to use those, it takes up a lot of space on the ship. So,
that's the thing, isn't it? If you're not somebody who those things matter to you, then why are you paying the premium to be on a ship that has that? Yes, I'm a sucker for new and shiny. Like if it's got beige walls and beige carpets and it's all that new decor, for some reason I'm obsessed and I love it. But I'm a sucker for the newer ships, so I will radiate more towards the newer style of decor ships. But if none of that matters to you, you're not going to have a better experience because you're paying more to go on that new modern ship. And new ships always have a premium as well because they're new, and the cruise lines know that loyal fans will book the new ships because they want to try the new next thing. So no, go the other end of the scale. Look at them, the mid to older ships, and see what prices you can get on those as well.
Yeah, I really like them. I mean, I did 8 days, and it was about 600 and something pounds. It was less than £100 per night on that cruise. Yeah. And for Norwegian, Prima's at least double that price. And it was just a different kind of cruise. It was really nice because it was quite quiet, I think. Maybe you have more space per person, I think, on some of those older ships, even though they're smaller. But the service was really good because there were always just waiters everywhere, and we never really had to wait for anything. Of course, they don't have, the like big theatre shows and stuff that you'll get on Prima. But some people will never want to go and see those big theatre shows.
Obviously, you do sail both ends of the spectrum. I guess the one thing is if you do sail value, then you get to sail more frequently. That's instantly an instant perk of that, because obviously you're spending less per cruise, so you can kind of be able to do it more frequently. I'm very much in the opposite end of the spectrum. If I'm paying for a cruise myself, I will kind of cruise less frequently, but because I like the extras you get included, I'm one of those people that I hate kind of the upcharge. I hate FOMO.
Yeah.
If I go on a cruise ship and they're like, you can't do that, you're going to pay more. I don't know why. It's an instant turn off. Even if I pay less to get on, knowing I've got to spend more on the ship irritates me so badly. So I love going on cruise ships.
Exact opposite.
Yeah.
That's interesting, isn't it?
Because, I went on my Costa cruise, Costa Smeralda, and even if you want like a poolside burger, like that's a specialty restaurant, you pay for it. It's like €3 or something. It's really cheap. But for me, I see it as, I'm paying way less, and then I'm not paying for all this stuff that I wouldn't use anyway.
Right. Yeah.
Because a lot of the times, you'll be paying for like, it's not worth it for me to pay for something that includes drinks because I'd never drink enough to make the money back. So I would prefer normally to.
I've always won that game.
Yeah, but that's what's good though, right? So, and I
it's
enjoy
not
it
a drinks package I haven't beaten yet, to be honest.
No, but that's good. Like, it's funny that you've got the choice, because we did it all when we were on Encore. We didn't have the kids with us, and in Royal Caribbean in the summer, they wouldn't do any activities. It was like they just wanted to sunbathe and be cool. So I had to do the surfer, lowrider, just to get the video.
Oh yeah, I did it.
Yeah,
terrifying.
I think I was quite good actually. I was surprised.
Would you do it again?
Yeah, I would.
Because I came off and I was like, that was great. Never again.
Really?
Because I made it. I got on my knees. I didn't injure myself. I didn't embarrass myself too much. And I was like, well, I've peaked. So that's it. I'm not going to try again. So it was good.
I enjoyed it. But yeah, when we were on Encore, because we went without the boys and went with friends, we did everything. We did all the activities. They were all extra, but we just did it all. It was brilliant. So it was good that you've got that choice, I think.
I think that's the thing with me. If I love the choice that premium cruising offers you, so even if I'm not going to use everything, I like having the choice that there's more options. There's more options for dining. There's more options for bars. There's more options for entertainment. I think I just like knowing that I could, even if I'm not going to use it. And I know that's a weird way to look at it, of like I'm paying for something I may not use. But I love knowing that if I don't particularly enjoy the main theatre show, there will be other shows and entertainment available on board. So as even though I work in the industry and I probably know a lot more about the entertainment and all that type of stuff on cruise lines, I like going on and not having a plan. I don't kind of go on knowing every single show. I know all the different theatres and the style of shows they do, but I like not making a plan of, right, I'm going to see this. I just kind of like go in, what are we doing today? Where are we going? And I think premium, I think all cruise offers that anyway. I think that's unfair to say premium, but I think premium gives you more choice.
Yeah. You probably just hate that feeling of when you see something and it has a price tag so much that you're like, I just want to avoid this completely.
Yes.
And then you just pay at the beginning, which I get that. I don't like the way a lot of the American cruise lines do it with the gratuities on every drink and stuff. Whenever I see that, I'm like, oh. But yeah, it's just the same, I guess.
Well, Emma, once again, thank you so much for coming on. I think it's been really interesting. I know we've kind of chatted about a lot of different things rather than kind of focusing on the topic, but that's kind of our brand here at Magically Cruising. But no, thank you so much for coming on.
Thanks for having me. This has been so much fun. It's so nice just to catch up with you guys, like regardless of this being a podcast. It's just nice to talk to you. So it's just like we're letting people listen. This is quite cool.
Definitely. I think this is why I love this format as well. It's just a nice format, though, isn't it? Where we can just chat about cruise and, we've gone off topic, but we're still talking about cruise and sharing that passion. So I think that's great.
Yeah, it's useful.
And if the guys want to find you online, so you obviously you are everywhere on the internet, but where's the best place for the guys to find you online?
Probably my YouTube channel is the main place to go to, and it's called EmmaCruises. So I have literally everything from the Viking cruises down to the Costa cruises to barges to ferries. Anything where I spend a night, on water goes on that channel.
Amazing. No, great. So thank you so much for coming on. Again, if you guys are interested in booking a cruise from the UK, then definitely you can hunt me down as well online. You can find me at magical-traveler.com or on all social media under magical TRVLR. And then Sarah, I know you've also got a ton of content on your website as well. Where can the guys find that?
So you can find it on Cruising for All or Cruising with Kids. And what we'll also do is we'll pop a link to Emma's channels in the, what's it called, Kieran? The bottom.
The description.
Yeah, the bottom of this. The bottom.
The writing.
Yeah, the start.
In the bottom.
Yeah, we'll put a link to Emma. We'll put a link to Emma in the bottom. What's I'm saying?
Well, anyway, this episode, there will be links.
You will be able to find Emma. We'll make sure we link to her so that if you want to, if you haven't heard from her, you've been living under a rock, then you can find her.
Thanks for that, guys. I hope you've enjoyed this episode, and we'll see you on the next one. Take care. Bye.
Bye.